Yo, what's up guys? It's XRAYZ and welcome to my custom zombie story. In the first part, it's actually titled Nuclear Wasteland. Now before I actually jump into the story that I know you guys have been waiting for so patiently, I want to really quickly thank all of you guys for all the support you've given on my zombie videos. We got over 1,000 likes on my zombie origins perk machines, which I asked for 800 in order to release this episode today. So thank you guys so much for the support. Before I jump into the video, if you guys could support this video, then I'll make part 2 a little earlier than I normally would. I know it's taken a while to actually make this one. So if you guys can get over 1,300 likes on this video, then I will release part 2 after I release Behind the Horror and after I release another episode of Zombie Origins. So I'd say in about 3 weeks we'll have part 2. So hopefully you guys help me out and support this video. It does help the channel grow. But anyways, with that being said, let's jump into this story. Nuclear Wasteland. Now the events of this story unfolds directly after the attacks on Nagasaki and Hiroshima during World War II. Now this is not the normal story that you would expect. This isn't a nuclear fallout where radiation caused the outbreak of zombies or caused the mutation that caused zombies, or maybe even just the fact that zombies were created because of the nuclear activity years after this event. You see, the reason that the bombs were dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima were not in an attempt for the US to end the war. It was actually in an attempt to hide all activity, all illegal experimentation that was going on in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. They didn't want people to find out the truth. The fact that in Nagasaki and Hiroshima an outbreak of zombies had started. Now after the bomb is dropped, we get to learn a little bit more about each one of our characters. First of all, we learn more about these characters through their individual trials trying to survive through the zombie-infested cities and streets and alleys within Nagasaki. You see, even though the United States was trying to hide the fact that there was a zombie outbreak and trying to basically end the virus itself, they weren't able to completely wipe it out. The lives that were lost across the poisoning of radiation, across the crumbling buildings, the casualties of the dropping of the bomb themselves had turned into zombies. It is after this drop that we get to meet our 4 characters. Our 4 characters being Troy Riley, Takahiro Kimura, Rosenda Villa, and Mateo Tennyson. Our 4 characters are scattered throughout the city, each one with their own means, their own personal goal, and their own personal reasons for being in Nagasaki. Our first character we learn about is Troy Riley. Troy really doesn't know much about himself. You see, after the dropping of the bomb, he actually was knocked unconscious and lost part of his memory. He doesn't even know if Troy is his real name. Troy Riley is just a name that is sewed on his suit. He's wearing some sort of military or Navy SEAL, some sort of military personnel type uniform. So he knows that he was within some sort of faction, some sort of military, for some sort of military reason. But he doesn't quite get the big picture. He doesn't know why he's really there. In fact, he doesn't really know much about himself anymore. He only gets these small windows of consciousness where he's able to realize who he is, but it's gone just as fast as it's opened. The only thing he really remembers is the name Volkov. He doesn't know why exactly he keeps remembering it, but it stays as something permanent in his head. Volkov. Volkov. The next person we learn about is Takahiro Kimura. Takahiro is actually a spy within the Japanese government. During the events of World War II, there were many spies that were going in and out of different countries attempting to intercept intelligence. Takahiro was actually one of these spies that was in the area in Nagasaki, since it was after the events where the United States had threatened to end the war if Japan did not surrender. Takahiro finds himself also scattered across the city, but he knows his goal. He knows that there was some kind of strange outbreak in Nagasaki before the actual dropping of the bomb. There was reports, but it was well contained by the Japanese government. Takahiro was there to investigate at the time to find out what his superiors were trying to hide. Our third character is Rosenda Villa. Rose was in Nagasaki because she was actually on vacation with her family, but after the bomb was dropped, the hotel that her brother and sister were staying at collapsed and they both ended up dying. So Rose is just wandering around the city trying to survive the zombie outbreak while also trying to piece things together and basically trying to keep herself from turning insane. The fourth person that we learn about is Mateo Tennyson. Mateo Tennyson is actually from Nagasaki since he was raised there, but he's actually an American. He also finds himself trying to survive after the outbreak of zombies and after the dropping of the bomb, which caused even more zombies to influx. While our 4 characters are trying to make their way, the 4 of them eventually meet up in an abandoned building. You see, at the time they were both being overrun by zombies, and they figured that retaliating into a bigger complex would allow them to have more room to breathe and allow them to essentially lock themselves in. It is within this building that they end up meeting each other. Although they're hostile at first, they don't trust each other, they end up having to work together in order to survive this outbreak. While they're going around the map, they actually end up hearing several radio messages and learning more about this outbreak. As it turns out, the facility that they actually ended up going into was one of these illegal centers or containment centers where they learn more about the zombie outbreak and its origin. So while they're in this building, this facility, they end up hearing these random messages from someone known as Professor Volkov. Within these messages, they learn more about Professor Volkov, as well as learning more about the facility and the origin of the outbreak. They learn that the facility was actually used to test a new strain of virus that was found within an ant in South Africa. Apparently, there was some sort of ant species that was able to inject a serum or some sort of virus into other ants. The virus would eventually take over the ants and pretty much zombify them and turn them into mindless slaves. Professor Volkov then went on to say that they were able to isolate this virus and use it as a serum in order to try to enhance the human physique. As he speaks about some case 153. Apparently there was some super soldier that they were able to create. They had a lot of different people that they were able to test on, but he said that there was one, an American, that was able to survive the testing and become a lot stronger and a lot faster. As it turns out, only a handful of people are actually able to take this virus and be able to survive. The virus eventually ended up becoming an airborne virus that was being spread throughout the city. This is why zombies started to develop, which is why you see some people like Troy, Takahiro, Mateo, and Rosenda being able to survive. They're actually able to adapt and actually use this virus to become stronger and faster. It's also part of the reason why they were able to survive the zombie outbreak for so long. After several weeks of failed experimentations and patients dying to this new strain of virus, Professor Volkov was basically at his wit's end. He thought that the experiment was a complete failure. That is, until they eventually caught an American spy trying to infiltrate their facility. Instead of choosing to kill the spy, Professor Volkov decided to use him as another one of his guinea pig test subjects. To his surprise, the subject was actually able to survive being exposed to the virus, Virus 115. However, while this experimentation was going on, there was a leak in the system. Apparently the virus had escaped into the air ducts and everyone in the building was being intoxicated. And since only a few select people were actually able to survive being exposed to the virus, everyone besides Professor Volkov, who was in an isolated room, ended up dying. However, when they died, they didn't stay down. The corpses began to reanimate and start turning into zombies, and Professor Volkov was forced to flee the facility and escape to London. During this chaotic outbreak, Case 153 is able to escape. We learned that Troy was actually this special case that they referred to. He was the one that was able to escape from the facility. However, he doesn't have any recollection or any memory of any experimentation being done on him. Upon listening to this message, the group decides that they have to go to London. Professor Volkov mentions in the message that if anyone is to hear this message, that they should go to London to learn more about the outbreak. So after they hear the message, our group decides to go to London. Anyways guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this part of our custom zombie story. If you did, remember to slap a like and a favorite. Again, if we can get 1,300 likes, that would be absolutely insane. Anyways guys, also if you guys are new and you enjoy this series and you want to stay up to date and you won't miss a single video, remember to subscribe so you won't miss it. But anyways guys, until next time, I'll see you guys next time. I'm XRAYZ, I'm out. Peace.